Hi everyone. Hi everyone. It's just lovely to be here today with you and to tell you about how courses and how academics works in the Faculty of Arts and Science. Just a few words about today's sessions. As Hattie mentioned, we are recording this for future generations to watch later on. And if you have questions, I would suggest just to kind of, organize things. If you have any questions during the presentations, please put that in the chat box, and we'll get to your questions after the presentation ends. And if you have any questions after the presentation, you can either make an appointment with International Programs Office, or if you want to talk to me, I'm always happy to talk to international students. The slides will give you also my email there, so feel free to reach out if you ever need to talk to us. So today's session is about academic environment and expectations in the Faculty of Arts and Science. And I'm hoping to give you tips to succeed here at Queen's. And hopefully you will find that presentation useful. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we, or I, living in Kingston, and Queen's University is situated on traditional Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee territory. And we are very grateful that to share that space with Indigenous people. We are very grateful to be able to live here, to learn here, and to play here on these lands. So in matters of introductions, my name is Dr. Margaret Maliszewska. Everybody calls me Dr. Margaret. I work in the Department of Languages, Literatures, and Cultures. I am assistant professor and academic advisor. I teach courses in intercultural communication as well as in German. And I'm also an undergraduate assistant academic advisor, and that means that I meet with students, both international and domestic, to advise them on the course choices, how to complete the degree, or just talk about life in general. So I'm kind of always here in the office. My office is in Kingston Hall on the top floor in room 416. So if you ever want to stop by, say hello, you are always welcome. And my email here is posted on the slide. You can reach me at any point if you want to talk to me or make an appointment with me. This is how you reach me, by email. I received my first undergraduate and graduate degree from university in Poland. I also hold a master's degree from University of Toronto and a PhD from Queen's University. So I do have quite some knowledge about European and North American university systems. And I hope that I'm qualified enough to tell you all about it and how the difference between studying in North America and your home university will look like. So before we begin, we would like to do a very short poll. We would like to know what things you're looking the most for during your life, during your exchange at Queen's. And you can choose any answer, or you can choose a few different answers, or just one, whatever you like. So what you're looking for the most, getting new academic experience, meeting new people, discovering Canada or Canadian culture, socializing and getting involved. Okay, and I see the second poll, which will come later. We'll talk about later. So things that you might be worrying about. Not performing well academically, time management, being alone, lonely, or being homesick, or concerns about your mental health. We only have 3 people. Okay, so everybody, I think, responded. Thank you. Okay, so that gives us very important information for the presentation. So I'm going to end the poll right now, and we'll start telling you about all about what I know that you can use to help you with your exchange at Queen's. Okay, so the first thing you have to know, or we'll talk about, is how the semester looks like at Queen's. So the first thing you have to know that the semesters is very, very short. It's only 12 weeks. And believe me, that goes by very, very fast. The shortness of the term will really influence your academic life, and we'll talk about later on. The fall begins on the 7th of September, which is Tuesday, and will end on Friday, 3rd of December. During the first 2 weeks of classes of the term, it's so-called add-drop period. And that means that you can go to class. If you don't like it, you can drop the course, you can add another course. So we call it a shopping stage, shopping around stage. And that add or drop deadline will end on the 20th of September. So on Friday, by the end of the week 2 of classes. In the midterm or after week 5, we'll have midterm break, fall midterm break. That is from 12 to 15 October. The 11th October is a Monday, and that's Thanksgiving in Canada. And for the rest of the week, students are off the school, and some use it to catch up on the class material, and some will choose to travel. So it's really it's a good opportunity to have that week off. If you want to do some traveling, that's a great chance that you have there. After the term ends, so on 3rd December, you will have a few days to study for your final exams. So from actually it's 4th to 8th December, sorry, not April. And then exams are from the 8th to 22nd December. And the exam timetable will be published before Thanksgiving, so before the fall midterm break. So please do not make any travel arrangement, until you know when your final exam is. And some courses will have final exams, some won't. But don't book your return tickets until you know that information. And the term will end on the 31st of December. In early January, you will have your final grade posted on your transcripts, and then your official transcript will be sent to your home universities if you're just staying here for a term. So that's pretty much how the semester is structured at Queen's. And then we'll talk about classes or courses. So most classes within the Faculty of Arts and Science are 90 minutes long for twice a week. So for example, our beginning Spanish class is on Tuesday, 10 to 11:30, and then on Thursday, 8:30 to 10. Twice a week, 90 minutes. The classroom will be the same for both days. And please note that every class actually ends 10 minutes before the official ending time. So that class from 10 to 11:30 will actually end at 11:20. And that 10 minutes will give you the opportunity to get from one class to another, or from one building to another. Our campus at Queen's is quite small, so that 10 minutes is plenty for you to get from one building to another. And very often, we also have many departments who held the classes in the same building. So for example, in LCU, in my department, most classes will be held in Kingston Hall. So it really doesn't take a long time to get from one classroom to another within one building. So if you see in your schedule that you have class that ends at 11:30 and then another class starts at 11:30, please don't get scared, don't get anxious, don't get terrified, because that 10 minutes will allow you to get from one class to another. And the earliest class at Queen's will begin at 8:30 a.m. and the latest class will end by 5:30 p.m. There are also some classes that will be offered 3 times or even 4 times a week. For example, our Chinese or Mandarin classes will be 3 hours per hour, so 3 times a week. That would be lectures. And then the 4th hour would be tutorial. And both attendance to lectures and tutorial will be obligatory. There are also some classes that will be offered once a week for 3 hours, and they are usually upper year seminars, and very often they are evening courses, so from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And when searching for classes at Queen's, you have probably noticed that they're all named differently. We have lectures, we have seminars, we have tutorials, labs. Lectures might be the most common or the format that you're most familiar with. There are classes that the professor talks for 90 minutes or whatever, and maybe you do some group work or some discussions depending on the class size. Seminars would be upper year classes, usually 3rd or 4th year classes, where students do most of the work and the professors are here to guide them through the discussions and group work. And so they usually involve more independent work and are smaller in size. Tutorials and labs are small classes, usually for bigger courses. And that allows the students to focus on the specific topics that relates to the lectures. The tutorials and labs are usually led by teaching assistants, either graduate or undergraduate students. And some tutorials will be offered every week and some every 2nd week. And in many cases, in many course tutorials are obligatory and very often count towards the attendance and participation grade in your course. And they are also a great opportunity to ask questions about class material and get to, even meet your fellow peers. Another thing that might be different from what you know from your home university is how the courses are weighted at Queen's. So most classes are either 6 or 3 units. 6 units classes are classes that run for the full year in the fall and winter term. And 3 unit classes are semester-long classes. And the International Programs Office will inform you, will tell you how many units per term will equal a full load at your home university. The general students at Queen's usually take 5 courses per term, and that will equal a full load for them. And last but not least, the size of the class will be different. Generally speaking, the higher the course, the level of the course, the smaller the class size will be. So for example, our Introduction to Linguistics class, which is 100 level course, has 150 students enrolled in it and 6 tutorials that are smaller for 25 students each. But for example, our German at 300 level class will only have 10 students. So it really depends. The higher the class, the higher the level, the smaller the class. That's usually typical. And larger classes are usually strictly lectures, but so it might be difficult for you to get your peers or professors, but that opportunity you can have in the tutorial. And smaller classes may involve more work, but on the other hand, you have this advantage of getting to know your fellow students and the prof. Okay, so now to the assessment, because and that will vary from class to class, and most likely will depend on the size of the class as well. One thing you have to know is that Queen's students are tested constantly. Queen's loves assessments. And among common assessments are things like essays, presentations, science labs, group work, case studies, reports, blogs, discussion posts, creative projects, and I will show you a few examples of assessment in our department. Participation and attendance are usually part of the assessment, so it counts. You are expected to attend every class and participate in group and class discussion. The main thing is that you should be prepared for a lot of small assignments, probably more writing and probably more group work. And of course, there are some tests. Every class will have 1 or 2 tests, including also a midterm. Midterm is a bigger test that will include usually the first half of the course, the material from the first half of the course. And they usually in week 6, 7, or 8. So the assessments, the breakdown of each of the items that you will be assessed on will be posted in your course outline. And I have to tell you that course outline is your best friend here at Queen's, because it will answer most questions you will have about the course material. For example, what to do if you're sick and you miss a class, or what to do, how to submit an assignment, how the assignment looks like, and what's the requirement for, like, essay, how many words or how many pages. So that information should be included in the syllabus. And try to look for the syllabus before you approach a prof or TA, because the answer to your question might be already in the course outline. So here, just to give you an idea how different the assessments can be. In our Mohawk class, in one of the assignments was to so-called Thanksgiving address. And one of the students knitted a blanket for it, and that's the blanket. And in other of our classes, in the juniors class, the students produced a zine, which is the self-published magazine with pictures and words, and they published that at the end of the class with their poetry and painting. So as you can see, it can be very creative and can be very traditional, but you should expect anything, really, and which could be quite fun, I think. And now, how your assessments are graded. So the course outline will include your grading scale, and at Queen's we use letter grades. It may happen that on your individual assignments you will get percentages, but your final grade will always be a letter grade. And letter grades are then converted to grade points and then calculated your grade point average, so GPA, for each of the students. And your course outline will include how the individual assessments are graded. You have to know that anything above 50% or D- or 0.7 is a passing grade at Queen's. All right. So, and again, I remind you, if you have any questions, please post them as we go along. Please post them in chat, and we'll refer to them at the end of the presentation. I want to talk to you about 2 different things, about Solas and OnQ, which you might already heard about. So first, we'll tackle Solas. Solas is a student-centered system. Solas, a student online university system. Apparently, it's a Gaelic word for knowledge and light. So it's a tool that you will manage, that will help you manage your courses, your academics here at Queen's. And you can use Solas for adding or dropping the courses. You can have a look at your timetable. Your timetable will be posted in Solas with all your courses, your classrooms, the buildings where the classrooms are located, as well as the names of your professors. And it might be complicated at the first look, and especially for you guys who are not familiar with it. But please believe me that many domestic students, many Queen students have problems navigating it. So don't feel bad if you experience any problems with that, because it takes time to get familiar with it and navigate it through flawlessly. So I'm sorry. So here, how you get to Solas. So this is a Queen's homepage. In here, you would have search and sign button, which is red. Once you click on that, this menu opens up. And if you click My Queen's U, Solas My HR, that will lead you to Solas. And inside Solas, again, you can search for classes, and you can do other things with it. Like, for example, here under other academics, that menu unrolls, and you have class schedule. You can add, drop. You can see your final grades. You can see your unofficial transcript, and you can even request your official transcript here from Solas directly. So that's just log in, play with it, see how it works, and with some time, you will be able to navigate it without any problems. The other things that the other system that you might hear a lot, and it's used at Queen's quite extensively, is so-called OnQ. And it's a learning management system. And if you ever heard the name of Moodle, or used Moodle in the past, or Brightspace, or Blackboard, these are the same things. OnQ is just a custom version of it. And there are sort of individual websites for each of the course. However, not every professor will have OnQ for the course. So if you log into OnQ and don't see that course, it might be because the professor didn't open the course yet for students, or they don't have it. That might happen for like upper year seminars when you very small class, professor might choose not to have one. But most courses you probably will have it. Many instructors will put articles or readings in OnQ. Many courses will have also discussion forums or blogs where you be putting your opinions about course material and so on. And those blogs, those forum discussions are usually part of assessment, so you will be graded on it. You can also submit your final assignments or any assignment to OnQ. So final essay, for example, or response paper, reflection paper, and so on. In some courses, especially in remote courses, you also may have quizzes or tests being done through OnQ. So it's very versatile, very system that can accommodate a lot of things. It's also used as communication tool. So you can either get an email through OnQ from your instructor, or you can see an announcement that is posted on the first page of your course OnQ. And my bottom line of this whole thing is that you should check your emails, Queen's email, very frequently, as well as OnQ courses because all the announcement and emails can contain important information, and you do not want to miss it. You don't want to jeopardize your grade because you missed some message from your instructor. And as with Solas, you will get to OnQ from Queen's homepage, sign in and search and sign in, and then OnQ link is here. And this is how the main page of OnQ looks like. This is my private page. I have access to many OnQ courses from my department. So you will probably see 4 or 5, how many courses you are taking here at Queen's. So each of the courses will have a title and the term attached to it. And once you click on the course, it can be structured very differently. This is just my example screenshot from one of my courses, but it should contain course outline. And you have the readings posted here, you have a video posted here, and then you have a homework that you just click on that link and submit your assignments through there. So again, very different functions. It can look very differently from what you see here, but that's the general idea that you'll pretty much encounter throughout your term at Queen's. So OnQ, as I mentioned, will use many professors will post their articles or readings in OnQ. However, if your course requires a textbook, you will find it in a campus bookstore, which is also called Clark Hall. And also many courses will have reserves in the Queen's Library, in main library, which is called Joseph Sofer Library. It's located on a corner of University and Union. And the reserves are usually on short-term loans, so you can borrow the textbook for 3 hours, for example, and then you have to return after 3 hours. But in the meantime, you can make photocopies, or you can just look up exercise or something what you need from that book. So these are the resources for textbooks and course materials. And then we had planned the second call, things that you worried about, and you already told us. So thank you very much. I think time management was quite up there, and that's not a surprise to me, because if the term at Queen's is so very different, time management will be always on the top of the list. So let's talk about time management. So as I mentioned, the term at Queen's is very short, 12 weeks. It goes by very, very fast. And in many courses, you'll get your first assignment in the first week of classes. Students are expected to work 8 to 10 hours per course per week, and that includes class time, so 3 hours per, and then in the class time, and then 5 hours of individual studies per course. That pretty much adds up to 40 hours a week. And if you think about it, it's like a full-time job. So of course, in some courses you will work less. You don't need that 5 hours of individual studies. And in some courses, you might need those 5 hours. So be prepared and kind of accommodate that into your schedule. So when it comes to midterms, because they are quite important, because they include the first part of the term when it comes to course material. They will happen in weeks 6, 7, and 8. And in many courses, they will happen in the same week. So you will have 2 midterms in the same week, for example, from 2 different courses. And that can really add up when it comes to your time management. And so what I would suggest you do is to, before you start, you have your course outline. Each assignment, each course outline will list which assignment and their deadline. and do our kind of comprehensive view of all your 5 courses. For example, what is the deadline for each assignment in which course? I have students doing spreadsheets actually with that, so they always on track and know what to expect each week and know what to prepare for each week when it comes to assignments. Whatever works for you works for you. If it's just drawing on a board or doodling or something, that works for me as well, as long as it works for you and as long as you know which assignment will go will have be due in which week. That's will really help you with with the time management. And of course, I know this is something that you already know from your home schools. You should be preparing for each class. So if you have assigned reading before the lecture, do that, because it will help you understand the lecture better, especially if English is not your first language. And during the lecture, you know, avoid distractions, turn off the phone. I don't tolerate cell phones in my classroom. You have the break for that. You will have a break. You can use your phone, but never during the class time. Make notes during the lectures in English, if English is not your first language. And then that will help you not only to retain the course material, but also clarify any points that you may not be clear about, you might have questions about, and then you can go to either teaching assistant or professor to get answers to your questions. Attending classes, again, in many courses, attendance is part of the final grade. So make sure that you come to classes, you do your homework. Again, this is all to support you so you can have a successful semester. And I think that's pretty much it, what I will have in terms of time management. Because it will be different from what you know. I know that many universities in Europe, you just have lectures throughout the term, and then you have a final exam which counts for 100%, and that's it. And you know, if you don't go to lectures, it's not a big deal. Nobody's checking attendance. It might be the case in a very big courses, although I haven't heard of any courses that will have just final exam that will count for 100%. Usually you have at least some tests throughout the term. So there would be assessment, there would be many more assessments that you used to. So getting those course outlines and making a schedule to know what is due each week really helps. Okay, so then my next point would be how we engage professors and teaching assistants. So when I was a student at university in Poland, the relationship between professor and student was extremely very formal. You would not approach them, you would not ask questions. If you were to approach them, you would always address them with their title, their last name, and be extremely polite and respectful. And here at Queen's or in North America generally, that relationship is much more casual, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be polite or respectful when you're contacting your professor. Because our professors and teaching assistants are really friendly and help you, will help you and want you to succeed. So the first point of contact, I would always say, if the professor has office hours, and all of them do, and those office hours are posted on the course outline and in many cases in OnQ as well. Feel free to go to office hours because that's a great way to get to know the professor, ask questions, get clarification on the class material. Don't be shy. They're really here for you. They're working for you guys. If you cannot make it to office hours, or if you have questions about other stuff, you don't want to go to office hours, email is the best way to reach out. Please don't call. Some professors never are in their offices already, and they will never check that voicemail that you left. So email is the best way to contact them. Please be polite, use the titles. If they have a PhD, address them as a doctor. If you're not sure if they have a PhD, professor, and their last name is the way to go. Never assume that you can address the professor by their first name, or just, hey there, how's it going? That is not really an appropriate way of addressing professors. And I've seen that. So that's why I'm mentioning it. It did happen, and quite more often than you think. If you have questions about course material assessment or assignment, please check the course outline before you email, because the answer might be already in the course outline. And some professors are annoyed if a student asks something that is already in course outline. So always include the course name and your name in the message, as well as your student number. It really helps. And be concise as possible. Just get straight to the point, what you need or what you're worried about. We are very sympathetic and we are here to help you, but we really don't need to hear your life story. So just get straight to the point and it's going to be fine. And keep in mind that professors are quite busy, and most of them will respond within 24 to 48 hours. Some professors will actually put that in the course outline, what you can expect when it comes to emailing and getting back a reply. And some professors are really horrible. I'm sorry to say, but they're really horrible with answering emails. So if you don't hear back within a week, then you can definitely send a follow-up email and check out, or just go to the office hours, because that might be the easiest way. As the relationship with your teaching assistants will be quite informal, it should be quite informal, because they are mostly graduate students that mark your assignments or lead labs, tutorials. And they are usually addressed by their first name. That's fine, okay. It doesn't hurt to ask to how they want to be addressed. And they are really great resource to, if you want a clarification on your course material, to ask how we can improve the grade. So use them, because they are here to help you and to support you. And when it comes to support, this is the third day of your orientation. So I am pretty sure you were bombarded already with a lot of information. And I just added a lot to a lot. So I realize this is not easy. It's not easy to process it, to digest it, and to get used to the new environment very quickly. So take your time and do your best. That's my best advice for you right now. And keep in mind that if you need support, there's a lot of help here at Queen's, and it's all free. You don't have to pay extra, okay? That's all included in your exchange agreement. So when you need help about the course material, about assignment, about anything that relates to the course, I think the first step would be to go to your teaching assistant or professor. Use their office hours, and if that doesn't work for you, email them. So that's the first step. If you need more support in terms, I don't know how to write an essay, or I don't know how to do a poster or something like that, Student Academic Success Services will help you with that. They held workshops on a regular basis on all academic skills, such as writing, such as time management, stress management. So it's really versatile. They also have special help, special divisions for English, for students whose English is not the first language. If you need accommodations in a course, for example, if you need more time on a test, or if you need a private room for your test, or if you need computer to write your test, Queen Student Accessibility Services is the organization to go. So you can contact them. You will be presenting here medical documentations, and they will issue a special letter that will list all your accommodations. And that letter will go, you have to send it to the professors, to your professors in your courses, and then you will be accommodated on assignments and tests. You are also free to, within your departments, the courses that you're taking, talk to undergraduate assistant or undergraduate chair in that department. I'm always happy to talk to exchange students, direct them to the right services, and just really help navigate you through Queens. So we are always happy to help. There are also academic advisors within the Faculty of Art and Science. Faculty of Art and Science is located in Dunning Hall, and they hold regular advising sessions for students. So they may help you with, if you need anything like accommodations, academic consideration, and so on. And of course, you're already familiar with International Programs Office. You've been in touch with the staff there. So that's also, if you're shy, if you don't know where to start, you can always contact them and they will direct you in the correct place. The main thing is that we don't want you to feel alone here. We do not want you that you have support. We don't want you to suffer in silence. And I understand there are many different personalities. I'm an introvert by nature, and I'm really shy, and I usually don't ask for help. But this is very important. Everybody is really, really nice here and want you to succeed and want to help you. So please reach out. Please come to us, talk to us, because we want you to have a fun, successful term. We want you to enjoy the academics. We want you to enjoy the life here. We really want you to have a good, positive experience. So if you have problems, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling sad, please reach out, because we can help. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to come to me in person or to International Programs Office. You can email us. You can just chat with us online. So there's really, I get it. You might be shy, but it's really not worth you not having a good experience, because we can change that. We can help you change that. Okay. So the last point I wanted to talk to you is how you balance life and school. I don't know if I scare you about all those assignments and the hours that you should be working for your school. But I would like to also for you to enjoy life while you're here. You're all very smart guys. You came, you don't go on exchange if you cannot manage your time or if you have problems, academic problems, right? So you all know how to study, how to plan your time. You're all very smart. So hopefully, that academic load, despite my gloomy description, it's not as bad as I picture it. And I would really, really like you to encourage to make as many friends with your classmate as possible. And if you are in a big course, that might be difficult, but if you have tutorials for that particular course, that might be easier to get to know your fellow students. And believe me that Canadian students are very curious about other people from other cultures and other countries. So it shouldn't go that, they really will reach out if you reach out to them. And great opportunities for during the class group work or study sessions. smaller seminars to get to know people. So do think about that and don't be too shy about it. And if you are in Kingston, or if you're getting to Kingston soon, Kingston is not a big town, and it's very easy to go around using public transport. The area around Kingston is also very pretty, lots of nature, and if you like hiking, if you like canoeing, you can definitely organize a weekend outside of Kingston and do all those activities, especially if you have a car or you have a friend with a car. So that's a great day. You know, you can do a day trip from Kingston very easily and find yourself in a beautiful, beautiful environment. Kingston is located between Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, and Toronto, which is one of the biggest cities in Canada. And both cities have lots to offer, and both are very different when it comes to their nature. And it's only, you can reach Ottawa or Toronto by train or by bus, or by car, obviously. It's only about 2.5 hours drive from Kingston. So if you have more time, for example, during midterm break, you can use that, you know, to spend days in either Ottawa or Kingston, or even many people go to Montreal, because that's apparently that's one of the very European looking feeling cities. The Queen's International Center is a center for international students, and they always have lots of workshops and events that you're encouraged to participate in. If you are interested in Indigenous Peoples of Canada, 4 Directions Indigenous Student Center always welcome students that would like to learn more. You had talks with the Alma Mater Society, AMS, and ASUS about joining a student club and getting active in student life, so I will not elaborate on that. You can also consider volunteering within Kingston organization. There are always many organizations that need volunteers at all times, so that shouldn't be too hard to get involved there. Just please consider that because we are still in a pandemic, many activities at Quick, 4 Directions, AMS might be still offered remotely. But that shouldn't be a problem, or that shouldn't discourage you from participating and engaging when you can. So that's pretty much what I had for you today. And if you have questions, we will love to hear it. And I think there are okay, now I have an email from Alexandre. Relation of professors to the school books required for the course. Okay, so I think that comes up every year. So each course most of the courses will require a textbook, and I understand, you know, textbooks can be very expensive. There are a few choices that you will have. You can buy an old used textbook from a former student, and there's a lot. There are quite few Facebook groups at Queen's that, you know, sell or offer discounted books. There are also, you know, used books in campus bookstore, because you can resell it to the campus bookstore. And in many cases, if a textbook has an electronic version of it, it's usually much cheaper than the hard copy. So these might be stuff that you may want to consider. Some professors will absolutely require the textbook. You have to do it, and you have, like, it will help you succeed in a course, because some test questions might be exactly from the textbook, might not be mentioned in a lecture. And some will be, you know, like, well, yes, it's recommended or it's required textbook, but you can really go, you know, you don't have to buy it, or it will be enough from the notes. For example, like in language classes, you have to have a textbook. It just it doesn't work. But for example, in one of our courses, mafia culture, there is a textbook required, but I heard many students don't buy it because they can get anything that they need from the lecture. So it really depends from course to course. I hope that helps. And you can just unmute yourself and just talk to us too.
That was a really wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Margaret. I'm going to stop the recording, and then if the folks in the session with us want to unmute themselves and ask questions or make any comments, they're welcome to do so. So pause the recording now.